Hello, welcome everybody again to another one of these inspiring chats that we're having with these inspiring and amazing people. Today we're having with us Alain Thys. He is an experienced architect, and I just want to thank you, Alain, for being with us today. It's really,
Thank-
really inspiring.
Thanks for having me. It's lovely. I love the
It's okay.
flowers.
I know. Happy moment, happy moment. So, catching the moment and talking about happy moments, I just want to ask you something straight away, so we can go straight into the subject. Um, from your wide experience working all over the world and with many different companies, what do you see is right now in the market? What is happening that is exciting and is going to bring us good vibes, and positive thinking?
I, I think that there's some interesting things happening. I mean, yes, everybody's going crazy with whatever's going on in the world right now, but um, I think if you think about it, there's actually a couple of things which I'm seeing around happening with some friends I know and with some companies I've worked with and I'm working with, which are quite, I think, quite promising for the whole customer experience domain going forward, both during this so-called crisis, but also afterwards, when the world starts opening up again. The first thing that I'm kind of noticing is that more and more people are starting to, because there's, budgets are getting a little tighter, there's some pressure everywhere. More and more people are starting to focus on what's the impact that we're actually having with our customer experience work. And in a way, that's not just talking about, oh, are we making people smile, but more and more, what's the business impact that we're having? And what I'm seeing is that sometimes it's done for budget reasons, sometimes it's done for principal reasons, but more and more people are looking at the business impact, at the business case for customer experience, the ROI on the initiatives, because they need to prioritize. And, just prioritizing on nice words is
Yeah,
kind
I
of
know.
difficult. But prioritizing with some ROI calculations, that's a lot easier. And
Okay.
in a way, you can say, oh, that's not necessarily good what you're talking about, but I think it's a very good discipline that's developing because right now that things may be a little bit more difficult, actually developing that discipline, I think is going to make a lot of CX programs a lot stronger
Yeah.
when we go into 2021 and
Hmm.
when all these troubles disappear, because it's going to build that capability to actually think about customer experience, not just about making people happy, which I love to do, but
Yeah.
at the same time also as something that really generates profit. So that's one thing I'm kind of
That's
seeing.
great. So impact, absolutely.
Impact,
We want to
impact,
understand the impact we are having.
correct.
And
I
also
mean,
it's something that we work on every morning when we get up, what
yes.
type of impact I'm going to have
What
in
am I going to do?
society and my colleagues today. Okay?
Yes,
Okay?
and so that's the first thing, which I think is a good sign, because it means that the profession is also getting even more mature
Yeah.
from a business perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I'm seeing is that quite a few people are also using this period, which is a little bit of I mean, we're all a little bit in holding pattern. We're waiting
Yes.
for things to change. And yes, there's a lot of work that needs to be done for everybody to be COVID proof and all that sort of thing. But at the same time, we've all got a little bit of time on our hands
Mm-hmm.
because we're not necessarily launching new projects and, because it's just not the time. But
Uh-huh.
what I am seeing is that actually a lot of people are using that opportunity to solidify what they have already started putting in place.
That's
So,
great.
so if you do, for instance, voice of the customer programs, I
Uh-huh.
mean, okay, it's no secret. Everybody runs them. Not everybody actually does anything with them, or not enough anyway.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing is that quite a few people are actually just saying, okay, so, we're not going to launch any new initiatives, but how can we make sure that these initiatives that we have got actually work? How can we get those VOC programs to be more performant? How can we make sure that if we have customer experience standards, that they're
Mm-hmm.
actually clear to the people in the business? Yeah,
Yeah,
because that they're not just a nice, nice poster with a journey on the wall, but that people actually use it. um,
exactly.
yeah, and actually start working a little bit more in that domain, connecting some of their employee experience work to their customer experience, because usually, these two are completely disconnected. So people are actually
Yeah,
starting to talk to each other.
sometimes, yes.
Uh,
So it's like polishing what
it's
we have,
it's
right?
it's it's more like I'd say it's even more than polishing. It's like like a lot of people right now are upgrading their garden and doing some work in the house.
I
Because
am.
they're yeah, okay, there you are. And it's that equivalent, I would say, in business terms, in customer
Yeah,
experience terms. It's actually making sure that the stuff they've got is actually working and working the way it should. And again, I
that's
think that's
great.
a good sign,
Hmm.
because again, once that's done, those programs are going to be more solid, and they're going to be more performant,
Hmm.
uh, more performant.
That's going to be great for everybody,
I think it is. I think it's
you
going to
know?
be. I mean, for those who are working on it, and I see those signs actually more and more. And what else is going on? Oh yeah, this is a nice one. The What I'm also seeing is, and this is new. This is from the last few months. Is that more and more companies are actually realizing that with all the changes that are going in the market on in the marketplace, that they have to become less fragile, that they have to be more flexible, and they have to start actually delivering experiences which aren't just necessarily improving what they're doing today, but that focus on what the customers really want, what customers are really looking for. And this is sometimes very tough, because it
Hmm.
means letting go of a lot of the things that you kind of think yeah,
Yeah.
and actually start thinking about completely new ways of working. I mean, just for example, I worked on a funeral project last month.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was a tough project, but at the same time, one of the, I mean, if I can say, most exciting ones I ever worked on, because the mission was to kind of completely reinvent funerals, but from the perspective of how they should be, rather than how over the last centuries we've thought they, should be, what we've learned. Because a lot of us, we just go through that script, but the
Uh-huh.
script isn't necessarily really aimed at the customers, and I mean even all of the customers.
Yeah.
And when you start doing that, you suddenly come to a picture of a completely different funeral. Now, this is a bit of a weird topic, but what's interesting to me is
Hmm.
that that type of conversation was very hard to have like 6 or 8 months ago, because
Yeah.
companies just didn't want to look ahead. They
Hmm.
were stuck in their reality, and they basically all assumed, oh, the world's going to stay the way it is.
Yeah.
Now, in the words of the CEO who basically asked me to work on this project, he basically said, listen, if we don't start thinking like Uber, did for the taxi industry, if we don't start thinking like that for the funeral industry,
Hmm.
then somebody's going to do it. So what we need to do to be ready with our experiences is actually to start thinking about what the experience should be, rather than just improve what we've got today. And I'm seeing that more and more. I'm currently working on a project in London where we are reinventing a complete office space. And it's a very nice landmark building. You'd probably know it. And what we're doing is we've actually come to the conclusion that when offices start opening up again, about 1 in 3 of their employees will actually not want to come to the office. They'll just go like, well, we've been working from home. This kind of works for me. What's your,
Exactly.
it's like, what's your unique selling proposition for me to come to the office?
Oh, yeah.
And
That's a good one.
like, why
Exactly.
should I
Why
get out of
should
bed?
I? Why
Yeah,
should I? What's the
why
point?
should I? It's like, because I mean, it adds an hour of travel and an hour back, and and hassle and headache, and I have to dress up.
Hmm.
And what we actually found is then when we then started looking at, okay, if there's no compelling reason, like for people to go and sit in rows of desks in a boring way, and they don't really like that because they only did that because we forced them, then what should that office really look like? What should the experience be? And again, we've come up with something which is radically different, because if you start working from the, let's say, the mindset of what people are looking for, they want social contact, they want to work on they want to be reminded of the purpose of the business and why they actually get out of bed. They want to have creative spaces. They want to, actually, many of them go to work for the water cooler conversations, even more than to get the work done. So, but if you add all of that up and you combine that with the company goals, again, you're looking at something completely different. And beyond these cases, because these are just examples, the thing that is really interesting to me is that what I'm seeing is, in addition to thinking about the money, in addition to solidifying all the different programs, I'm also starting to see more and more businesses really start taking that step back and saying, okay, we just got a wake-up call. And that wake-up call is that the world can change overnight. So if we are not responsive, actually, if we don't, move faster than the market, then, okay, today it was COVID, tomorrow it can be a competitor. Yeah. Today, a lot of businesses weren't ready with e-commerce. Yeah. Which that was the wake-up call, but tomorrow it could be something else.
Absolutely.
And what I'm seeing is that mainly visionary companies, they're starting to say, oh, perhaps we don't implement it straight away, but let's already have the thinking exercise of what the future should look like. And I think all of that combined, it sounds a bit chaotic what I'm saying, because I'm just picking stuff out of
No.
what
It
I
sounds
think
perfectly, it's fine
but
and very positive, in fact, I have to say.
it is actually quite an exciting time, because what I'm seeing at the same time is customer experience is in a way forced to professionalize. In a way, the time for, there's no room for fluff in our current market. There's no room for blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's show me the money, do what you actually, do everything that you actually should be doing, and then start thinking ahead of what the future should look like. And while a lot of us have been talking about that for a long while, I have, I'm actually seeing it happening now. And that's for me really exciting, because I'm kind of looking like, okay, so maybe, I'm not going to say this COVID crisis was a good thing, but I'm seeing a lot of good side effects as well, which are really encouraging.
Oh, well, that is so fantastic. I mean, you definitely met, the objective of this chat, which is to bring, happiness and hope, especially hope, because, we need to believe that we can do things. And, and I also hope that all these mindsets that you were talking about are also as contagious as the virus. And we start thinking, it's like we can do things in a different way, and not only a different way per se, but a different way as the customers are requiring and demanding, because that the customer research, customer qualitative understanding is underneath everything you were saying, and still some companies don't take it seriously. And the voice of the customer is the next step. Once you understand that, next you set the voice of the customer platform, so you can always listen, always learn. And the third step, I'd say, is to create some systematic within your organization that makes you flexible and able to adapt to whatever comes tomorrow. So that is culture, that is processes, that is technology, but all together in a coherent way. So, I think that your message was great. I really, really enjoyed your message, and I loved it. And, I just hope, we'll get one of those break everything projects, kind of let's think like a kid, as if we had 5 years old. If we were 5 years old, it'd be so fantastic. So
I think we can learn a lot from the 5 years olds.
Absolutely, we can learn so much. Well, thank you so much, Alain, for your time.
Thank you.
It's been great. It's been fantastic having you. And let's hope, we cross our paths again sometime.
I'm sure we will.
I hope so. You take care.
Thank you, Sonia. Bye-bye.
Bye.